My name is Karen Jernigan. It's Wednesday, September the 1st, 2021, and we are here in King City to have a conversation with Rudy Banuelos about his roots in the Salinas Valley and King City, California. We are doing this on behalf of the San Antonio Valley Historical Association. So first I'm going to ask Rudy to say for us your full name.
Is Rudolph Joseph Banuelos.
Okay, Rudolph
Yeah,
Joseph Banuelos. Okay, let me just spell that for you to make sure that I got it right. R-U-D-O-L-P-H.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay. Joseph, J-O-S-E-P-H, and Banuelos, B-A-N-U-E-L-O-S.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Okay, great. That's important. I want to make sure we have permission to use this recording to educate people about history. So, Rudy, do we have your permission to share this information with others interested in history?
You have.
Thank you very much. We are conducting this interview at 422 North Mildred Avenue in the patio area in the front of the house where Rudy has lived for how many years have you lived here? What year did you start living here?
We came down here in King City in March of 1977.
And was it in this house that you came to?
We bought it here.
Okay, 1977. Okay, so you are looking at how many years here? I have to make sure I do my math correctly.
Well, that was like 43 years ago.
Yeah,
something like that.
43, almost 44 years ago. Yeah, 44, I think. Wow. Okay, so March of 1977. Correct?
Because I was appointed postmaster down here. That's why I came down here.
And that's how you know that date. Yeah. Okay. 77. That was the year that I
Was born.
I think that was the year that I came here. Wow. It's been a while. Okay, so in the area we have our videographer, Karen Jernigan, and we have Rudy's son, Ray, who's here with us and have come to listen. So, Rudy, here's our first question. What was your date of birth?
February the 4th of 1927.
1927. And so that makes you how old? You were saying that you and Ray were
He
discussing.
corrected me. I'm 94 now.
You're 94. It's hard to keep track after all those
Yeah,
years.
but I
huh?
wish he'd have gone back, not down.
Gone down, like to 93 instead of 95.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so you're 94 now. And where were you born?
King City, California.
Okay. Do you know where you were born in King City?
What's that?
Do you know where? Were you born in a hospital?
I have
or?
no idea.
No. Okay.
Nothing that I remember.
Okay.
I could have been born in the house in those days.
Right. Right. So, where was the house? Do you know where you were, where your parents lived when you were born?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. So, so you moved to. So you were born here, but then tell me what happened. You lived here for a few years, and
We
then,
lived here for a few years
Mm-hmm.
because I think when we left here, it was probably 7 years later.
Okay.
And from there we moved to the California Arts Company, and then we went to Greenfield.
Okay. And who were your parents? Can you tell me their names?
Jesus Banuelos.
Okay.
Maria is my mother's name.
So your parents were Jesus and Maria Banuelos. And do you know your grandparents?
Yeah, one I know, the others I never knew.
Okay. And what were your grandparents' names?
My grandmother was Theodora.
And she was a Banuelos.
Banuelos.
Okay. All right. And so who was it that first came to the King City area? Was it your parents or your grandparents?
It was probably my parents, because I know where they ended up when they came, where it was down in San Bernardino somewhere.
Okay.
And then I don't remember, I don't know anything, because it was all before my time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my dad used to work in the citrus in Ventura.
Ah. So that's why he probably came to work for the California Orchard Company, because it has ties in Ventura.
He did, well, fruit, trees or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But he came up and at California Orchard Company, and then from there we moved to Greenfield, about 6 miles west of Greenfield, at Goodspeed and Thorpe Ranch.
What was it called?
Goodspeed and Thorpe Ranch.
Goodspeed, okay. And where was that? You said west of Greenfield?
Yeah, it's about 6 miles west off of Arroyo Seco Road.
I was going to say, it must be towards Arroyo Seco.
Remember the walnut grove there?
Okay.
Well, we used to live right in that farmhouse about a mile north of that.
I recognize that name, Goodspeed. Was he the manager of the orchard
They were the
company?
owners.
The owners
Goodspeed
of
was
the...
one, Bill William, and the other one was Carlisle Thorpe.
Uh-huh. So your father knew them and worked with them?
Well, he met them probably through California Orchard Company, because he did have some kind of an attachment to California Orchard Company. And so he was one in charge of the whole area there.
Right.
Because they had like 88 acres of apricots and about, 50, 60 acres of open land that we used for vegetables. You name them, we had them. Even grew the King City pink beans.
Cool. So your father, do you know what his job was with
He
all
was
this?
the overall.
Okay.
He ran the whole thing
Okay.
under the auspices, I should say, of Arnold Frew, who was one of the top men from California Orchard Company.
Ah. So, did you ever spend time out in the orchards with your dad? Did he take
Spent
you?
a lot of time out there. A lot of time, including those apricot fights. When we used to work out in the orchard once in a while after we got older, because in those days they didn't have that, restriction of the age.
Right.
Because the people that came out that were working under piecework, they got like 10 cents a bucket.
Uh-huh.
So they'd pick the fruit, and the kids would take the fruit in and get it checked. It got checked every time they brought it in. So then I learned a little about what was going on. And as time went on, my dad was teaching me everything there was to know. Not everything, but most everything. So I learned to drive the big Caterpillar, that learned how to irrigate. In those days, we didn't have sprinkler systems. We used the old pipe system. And so we used to get up in the morning. My dad and I'd get up about 5 o'clock in the morning, daylight, take out there, change the water, go back for breakfast, and then go back out to work. Finished out a whole day. Sometimes when we run on the irrigation, we'd have to run it 24 hours, so in the morning when we got up, we checked the water, and then we shut that off and started another one.
Was the water just running down grooves or?
We had the rows,
Okay.
and the pipes had some little deals where I can't remember what they call them, but you could slide in the slide on it. You can control the water coming out. If it wasn't going far enough, fast enough, then you lift it up a little more. No one was going too fast, you went the opposite way. Then later, if they were going to change a line or they wanted to change the water, say my dad would be on the bottom, I would be up on top. We used signals. We didn't use the phone like they do now. They, down below, you use the shovel and let them know how much water you needed. That's how we used to do it. And it was all furrows, I mean. And we grew there about tomatoes, we grew beans, we grew peas, we grew sugar beets we had there. And the old King City pink beans, and that, a couple of others. That's all I can remember that we used to do.
So you had a house that was on the land?
That was a house on the property for the family.
And do you know what's there now? Is it on Aurora Seco Road?
Wente Brothers took it over
Okay.
for a vineyard. You don't even know there was a house there.
Okay.
In fact, not long ago, I went out there with Shackleford, and he's metal detecting. This is when the Vought Cavalry used to come down, and he wanted to go down and, check the area out of, but we couldn't get in anymore, and they gated. But I said, let's go down the road. I said, but where was the house? I said, I don't know. They flattened it out. They had a barn and everything in there. They flattened it all out, and the only way I remember it was that the Release Creek used to run behind it. That was the only indication there was a house there. The rest is all vineyards.
So it was located before you get to the Elm Avenue Bridge that goes over the Aurora Seco River, is that right?
The Black Bridge?
Kind of by Release Canyon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the Black Bridge was about, 4 miles when you cross the Arroyo Seco River to go up to, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Fred's Camp, Miller's Lodge.
Right.
So that's where we used to go. And,
you'd go there for recreation? And,
oh boy.
But your actual house, though, was closer to Release Canyon? I'm just in my mind
No, the
trying
house
to fix
was
on Aurora Seco Road?
on the Arroyo Seco Road, about 6 miles, and then from there you made a right, and the house was about half a mile or 3/4 of a mile from there.
Okay.
Because when we used to go to school, we had to walk that half mile to get the bus.
And take the bus to?
The Greenfield School, elementary school.
Okay. Yeah.
But I started in Greenfield, down by the Arroyo Seco River. They had the Arroyo Seco School. It was one room, and all 8 grades were there.
What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember the 8 of us, and I don't remember a few names of them, like the Wileys. It was Bob Wiley and Eleanor Wiley. They were, I think, in the 8th grade at that time. They were older than I was. I was a kid. But that was about it. And Jack Sands, he's the one that had the horse. When the creek came up, he would come up, we'd jump on the horse, and he'd take across the creek there.
So you said there were 8 students in your school?
Well, I couldn't say 8. I just said it was the 8th grade. I meant that.
Oh, okay.
But no, it must have been, I think, at the most maybe 12 or something like that.
Okay.
Because it covered most of the grades.
Okay.
And
So
we
it
had
went
one-
up to
one
8th
t-
grade.
We had one teacher.
Do you remember your teacher?
Yeah, her name was Shannon.
Shannon. Was she a young girl or an older woman?
I thought she was an old hag. Well, she was older, let me put it that way.
Well, she must have been pretty strict then, huh?
You got that right.
Okay, all right. And that was in the Aurora Seco School. That's interesting. Probably not too many people remember.
No people remember it. If you want to see where the school is, I think I mentioned it, didn't I? That you go on towards Fred's Camp or up that way. It's on the left there on the vineyard there on the top. That's all that's left is just the building.
Wow.
That's what when they were doing the thing down here, I told them about that. I said, they got the one from Gonzales. But I think ours out here had more history than theirs.
How interesting. Yeah, are you talking about the one down at San Lorenzo Park, the Gloria School?
Uh-huh.
You lobbied for the Aurora Seco School, huh? And they got the Gonzales School, huh?
Well, That was before I even thought about it, you know.
So, okay, so you went to the Rosseco school, then you went to the Greenfield
Then,
school?
yeah,
What
when they
grades?
shut it down,
Uh-huh. What grades did you go to in Greenfield, do you
I
remember?
went to about 5th grade, I think it was. I'm not sure.
Okay.
5th or 6th, I can't remember that.
And then what happened?
Then what happened?
Did your parents move then to?
Well, they were still living out at the ranch.
Okay.
So we just took the bus, like I said, from there and went to school.
Uh-huh.
They left us right when we came back.
Uh-huh.
So that was about the size of a freak.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, when we graduated, went to high school down here.
So then you came to King City to high school.
To high school.
Okay.
We started in 1941 when the war started, and the class graduated in 45 when the war ended. I wasn't here for the 45 when I was gone.
Did you join the military?
Yeah, there were 3 of us from King City that joined it.
Who were they?
One was Chet, Serena, and Alan Gaysford.
And you? And you?
Well, yeah.
So the 3 of you.
The
Okay.
3 of us.
Chet Serena, Alan Gaysford, and Rudy Banuelos. And okay, well, let me go back just to coming to King City High School. So you had to ride the bus to King City High
I
School?
took the bus. That's why we had to walk up that distance, because the bus used to come from there.
Okay. And then what do you remember about? Do you have some memories of the first day you came to King City High School? Was it
I was just blown away. I wasn't used to that many people. I said many people because I think the student body was like 300 for the high school, I think, at that time. And now what is it?
It's about 1,000 some, yeah.
About 1,000.
So, but it's certainly more than the smaller schools, and yeah. So, were you involved in anything at high school?
Well, in sports, and my junior year, I was junior class president.
Really? Well, you must have been popular then.
No, I might have been, but I didn't like it.
You didn't like being president?
Well, the thing, I don't know, when they had the junior class prom, you know, that was a big event for the high school. I didn't have a date. I didn't want to go. And you remember Mr. Tully?
Yes, Lou Tully.
Yeah, he used to be our counselor, or whatever you want to call it. He says, you have to go. And I said, I'm not going to go. I don't have a girl. I'll get one for you. So he introduced me to her. Well, she was in the class anyway. Barbara Bengard was her name. And that was the best deal you ever had. I had a picture of when we had the junior prom. And this girl, Barbara, and I were right at the front when they took it. Now I can't find that one.
Oh, boy.
I looked all over heck for it.
So you did end up getting a date to the junior prom.
I got my date. I got my date.
Did you know Joanne in high school, or she was?
No,
she
I
was
met
younger?
her. I met her
Okay,
quite
later.
well there.
Okay, so let's talk about you did not graduate with your class because
I wasn't here. I wasn't
the war
here.
was going on. So what made you decide to join the military?
Well, getting tired of school in a way. And one night we went to San Ardo. That's when they used to have the big bash. So the 3 of us were down there that night, and I met this one kid by the name of Steve Giannardini. They used to own the drugstore here in town. And I saw him, he had a Navy suit on, Navy uniform. I said, you get in the Navy? He said, I don't belong to the Navy. I said, why? I'm in the Coast Guard. Well, I told him, well, how can we tell the difference? We have a shield on the right sleeve. That's the Coast Guard.
Okay.
So he said, well, let's go to the Coast Guard. We went to San Francisco. We had never been in San Francisco, and they used to have the depot here. So we get in the train. We go up to San Francisco. Now where do we go? I think we spent a half a day trying to find a recruiting station. And We asked the one Navy officer, can you tell us what the Coast Guard station was? He didn't want to talk to us. He kept going, he was Navy. So walking down the street, the three of us, and I saw you sign that says SPARS. And that was a women's organization. Semper Paratus, that's the first letter. So I walked in there and I said, the guy came up and said, what do you want? I said, well, we came up to enlist, but it says SPARS. Get on here. He talked to us, gave us the papers, and take the test. We took the test, we passed it. He said, now you go on California Street to get your medical or physical. Where's my California Street? So we finally found it, and we had to go clear up to the 8th floor. And when we opened the door there, saw these guys walking in their shorts, deals and all of that. And I said, what the hell? And then the next thing told us, strip. And then we got our physical. But all three of us passed it. So we figured, well, okay. And I said, when we pass this, it'll be 3 weeks or 3 months before they call us. We went down there and gave that recruiter it. He said, you guys report Thursday. They didn't even get a chance to check out of school or anything. We're gone.
Wow. Do you remember the month or the date of that when that happened? Was it 1944 or 40?
Must have been October or November. I don't remember really the date. I'd have to look on my my discharge.
So, but it was you didn't graduate in 45. So it was did you get into your senior year at school or?
Well, it's a long story, but anyway, when we got out, we got discharged ahead of time. We signed up for 3 years.
Okay.
Well, when the war ended, the Navy couldn't support the Coast Guard because when they got them, I think they had a personnel with about 23,000. And then when the war ended, they must have had 100,000. So the Navy says, go back to the Treasury Department. So the Treasury Department says the same thing. We can't keep you, so we got to discharge you. Well, that's fine with me. I'm going home. And from there, we got discharged in 1946. Was it May, Ray? May when I got out? 46. Because I spent 1 year on the ship. I left there in August. Came back in May. And that's when they started discharging the guys off the ships. And they kept me on board. And they kept me and they kept me. And I keep seeing all the guys going off and new ones coming in. So I went up and complained, big deal, me going up to the officers and tell them. I said, how come everybody's getting off and I'm still here? He said, well, we want you to re-enlist.
And you weren't intending to re-enlist?
Well, let me put it this way. I had to mid the watch from the time I got on board that ship until I got off that ship. And I spent all my time down in the engine room. Isn't that what your dad was? A water tender? That's what I was, a water tender. And I didn't know what the hell I was getting into, or shouldn't say hell, but eliminate that part.
So what does a water tender do?
Makes that ship go.
Okay.
We make the steam or whatever we have to do. And I think the pressure on the oil that went into the burners was 600 degrees high, and the boilers were 1,200, I think. And we had to check the water every shift, because they had to have clean water going through those boilers. And if you let it go dry, they would warp, and then you had to take the whole thing apart. And when you did that, you had to take the front of the doggone boilers off. And hot, it was hot. But I never let it go down when I was there, and I don't think anybody else either. Because if you did that, they'd have shut down the plant. But we had 2 boilers back to back, so we could always start the other one. So while I was waiting, then the new group came in, and one was a colored kid. And the guys down in the engineer part of it, were from Brooklyn. And when they saw that colored kid come in, I thought we were going to have a mutiny or some doggone thing. They were raising all kinds of heck. But that's when they changed, what you get in. So one night, this kid came down and asked me what I used to do. I said, well, I'm a water tender right now. And I told him what a water tender was. Well, he said, can I come down and stand watches with you? I said, if you want to get up at midnight, yeah. So he spent about 5 months. In that time, I was teaching him what I knew. In the meantime, I had been promoted. I got 1 stripe. Well, I was the only one that got it, too. So anyway, when it came time for me to go, they couldn't keep me there any longer because the ship was going to get underway. And the engineering officer came down and he says, who are you going to recommend to take your position? I mentioned that kid's name. His eyes got about that big. I said, sir, he's been standing watching with me, and I could leave it, and he could watch it just as well as I could. And that was the last I heard about that. So when I got all that taken care of, they said, get your sea bag ready, and I got my sea bag ready. Got up on deck. That morning, there must have been 50 ships in the harbor. And I think I told you, wasn't it, about the Nevada being painted bright orange? She was there, and then the Prince Eugen, that German cruiser, and a bunch of other ships. And I went, what the heck are they doing? Well, they left for the atomic bomb test on the Bikini Islands. And the bright orange Nevada was a target ship.
And where were you at this time?
We were getting ready to go, but we didn't go with them.
What location were you in?
Well, we were down in Long Beach or whatever.
Long Beach, okay, Southern California.
Southern California.
So did you do any tours overseas during your time in the Coast Guard? No, you were always here in California?
Oh, no, she meant that. No, I spent a year on the ship.
And where did you go during that time?
Everywhere, but
really?
I didn't get in the combat area at all.
Okay.
I was thankful for that.
So you were just taking care of water tending that ship and taking care of it, make sure it moved.
We make it go. That's what we used to tell the deck force. We make it go.
Okay. So did you like your time did you find it interesting, your time in the service, or were you just counting the days to get out?
No, I never counted the days.
Okay.
I never counted days. I was given a job to do, I did the job. I didn't care when I got up, but I wanted to get out if I had the 3 years, I wanted to get out then.
Okay, you did your 3 years.
But the war ended before then,
Okay.
so I was happy. But no, I learned a lot. The first thing I learned was, how do we make fresh water out of salt water? Quite a process. You had to bring the water up, run it through some evaporators and all of that. Then you had to check the content, or what do you want to call it, if it was salty or no. It had to be clear water for the boiler. And that's one thing I learned from that. But
and while you were gone, did you hear from your family back here in?
When we were down there in Southern California, my dad came down, and my uncle came down to visit.
Okay.
That was the only time I saw them, and then later on.
Did you write letters back home?
Oh yeah, we wrote letters. I think they used to. Didn't they check them out before you send them out? I think, well, for us it didn't make any difference. We weren't out there in that area. Because sometimes all you could see was water. You never saw anything.
So your two friends that went with you, did you see them when you were in the Coast Guard, or did they go to different places, Chet and Alan?
Well, Chet, from what I understood, stayed there at the base because he had worked as a cobbler, and he learned that trade from this Italian that came from Italy, and he had a little cobbler shop there, and he was doing shoes and all that. And Chet, somewhere or other, while they were Italian, got in touch with him, and he showed Chet how to do shoes and all of that.
And
So
then Alan, was he, but you weren't on the same ship with the guys that you enlisted
never
with.
even met him after.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So after 3 years, then you came back to they let you out.
Yeah, boy, was that
And where
happy
did
day.
what did you do then? You came back to
Well,
King
I
City?
came out and I started working out at the ranch, and then I wasn't happy out there. So I asked Arnold Frew. He was, the head man. In the meantime, I'd asked my dad. I said, "Dad, I want a raise." And he said, "I can't do anything about it." But so Arnold Frew came by, and I told him, "Arnold, I'd like to talk to you about a pay raise. I want to get some pay." I said, "You're paying those guys 75 cents an hour, and you're paying me 37 cents an hour." I says, "I know more about what they're doing than the jobs those guys did, because I learned it from my dad when we were there." So I said, "Well, you can take this job, and And he says, "Well, I can hire two for what I'm paying you." Hire them, I quit. I went home. My dad came with. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I quit." "Why?" I asked Arnold for a fruit, and he told me he could hire two people. Hire them. So I came to town that weekend, because a lot of the guys after we got out, we'd go hang around the Top Hat and some of those places. We weren't 21, but we still got in there. And I met Frank Albanese. He'd been working there after he got out too. And I told him, I said, "Well, I quit my job today." I said, "They weren't paying me enough. Go work at the post office. They pay $1 an hour." So I went to Greenfield and I talked to the postmaster there, and he says, "Well, we don't have anything open right now, but if we ever do, I'll let you know." So in the meantime, I went up to Salinas to register for at that time it was Salinas JC, which is Hartnell, Carl, can't even think of the name.
Hartnell College?
Yeah. So I went up there and told the gal, I said, "Coming up here to register under the GI Bill." She said, "Well, do you have a diploma?" I said, "No, I don't have a diploma." "Don't you have anything to prove it?" I said, "I don't have anything." "Well, you're going to have to go to school if you want to get a diploma." "You mean I have to go back to high school?" "You do." So I said, "Here's this old guy coming to high school."
But you did?
I did, and the best part of it all, there were 4 other guys besides myself.
Oh.
So while we were going to school, we had our own little group,
Okay.
And I remember them one time it was a Halloween parade, and we got a big truck, and the guys all got together, we made palm trees and all that. We got a couple of the girls to put on the little hula skirts and all of that. We're going downtown, Oh, I'll tell you, it was really a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun after I got out. So anyway, I went back to school. And okay, I said I went the same classes I had before I left. But when I graduated, I had 4 A's. All the classes were 4 A's. I had one teacher, boy. She was a typing teacher. She passed me all the time. So anyway, I says, "Well, what am I going to do while I'm waiting?" I said, "Well, I go back to school." "Okay, so I go back to school." And then when I had Jim, who was Ed Fisher was down there. He was a coach, and he had just gone out of the Marines. So he took us out there and worked us over. After we got back there, he says, "It's going to be your job to take care of those kids out there." Oh man, did I have a ball. We got out there. You know how they used to bum around and all of that? They didn't pay attention. I said, "Fall in." They all lined up. And I said, "Now this is what I want you to do." I said, "You're coming out here. You're going to work out. You're going to do it." So then I broke them up in 4 different units. Each one had one deal. And for a while, man, they didn't like me at all. But they all fell into the routine.
Well, you had that military training to be able to be a leader there.
Well, it was, yeah, I guess you could say that, but we had discipline, you know, when you were in there. And then when he saw these kids running all over the place, and gee, that was great, I guess, when I was bad like they were. But when Ed Fisher told me to take over, well, what the heck, I had a job there, and I didn't have to do anything but tell these kids what to do.
So you got your high school diploma?
What was it, 47? 48, I don't remember when.
So did the post office then get in touch with you fairly soon, or did you have to wait
They got
a long
in
time?
touch with me, and they didn't have any real job. He said, if you want to work on the weekends and Sundays, I said, yeah, I'm not in class, I'll come down. But in those days, we used to get the mail from Soledad on a rural route. The guy would bring all the mail down for Greenfield and leave it there. And then from there, we'd give him the mail to go out. So, and then, what was I going to say? I'd work on Saturday and Sunday. I was there by myself. I broke all the mail down. And of course, we only had 600 boxes at that time. And I got to learn them. And so then the word came out, and he said, "Rudy, we got a job for you if you want to, keep it, or stay with it, I should say." So I said, yes, I want to do it. I want to stay. In the meantime, the high school asked me to be the bus driver, the school bus driver. And I said, no, I can't see driving those kids, because you know me, I'd nail every one of them. But anyway, I didn't drive the bus. I didn't drive the bus. So I went to high school with my GI Bill. They paid me $60 a month. And the guys that weren't working at all, "You're a dumb fool." I said, "Why?" "We get $80 a month." I said, "What?" 5220 Club. For 52 months, they got $80 a month. I was getting $60 a month, and I was going to school.
I don't know what the 5220 Club was.
52 weeks.
Yeah. Why did they get that money?
Because they weren't working.
They weren't working. Oh,
they didn't have any jobs.
Unemployment, huh?
I was the only fool that went
Oh,
back to
okay.
school here. I lost
I
losing
get it.
$20 a month.
Interesting.
But anyway, I did get my job,
Uh-huh.
and I stayed with it. And after I had 15 years, remember John Doyle, when you said the nursery? He knew I liked nursery and stuff, so he talked to me one day, and said, you might have a good future with me. I said, "Why is that?" He says, "Well, there's the partnership. His wife was Marion, was her name, and his mother.
Oh, yeah.
So they all had that. He says, so you'll get your share, after my mother retires." Well, I kept waiting, and I made on a few trips with him, buying trips. And I kept waiting, where's this deal here? And he said, well, she hasn't made up her mind. I said, well, goodbye.
Okay.
Then I stayed there for 30 years in Greenfield. And then I spent 10 years down here in King City.
So, I'm trying to remember when you went to work in the Greenfield post office.
It was 1946.
Okay, and then when did you go to work in the King City post office? Did you say
77 when I
Okay,
went
so
to,
you were mostly at the Greenfield post office. Okay, I only knew you at the King City post office, so I didn't know that you spent most of your time in Greenfield.
You were in Greenfield, weren't you?
No. I came to work for the Rustler in 1977.
That's when
Probably
I came
about
down
the
here.
time you were there.
That's
So
when
when
I
I
came.
was going to the post office, you were there.
Yeah.
I just figured you'd been there for a long time, but so.
Yeah.
Okay, Rudy, I want to also ask you about your brothers and sisters. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
There were 2 sisters and the 3 of us boys.
2 sisters and 3 brothers. And what were their names?
My sister's name was Rebecca,
Rebecca, okay,
Eleanor,
okay.
myself, Eddie, Albert. There were 5 of us.
Eddie and Albert. Okay. And you said Eddie, your brother, ran a store out at the Orchard Company for a while? Was that what you said? He had a store? It was called Mr. Ed's?
Oh no, he had the grocery store in Greenfield.
Oh, the grocery store in Greenfield.
Yeah, and then he decided they could use his little grocery store over there on what was it? The street there. I don't know the road there anyway.
Okay.
And so he opened it up, and
Oh.
he was doing pretty good business. And then Chapa, you take your Chapa?
Bought it. Hmm.
I think he took it over.
Okay. All right. So your brother Ed worked in Greenfield at the store, and
He
then
owned it. He owned it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
He
All
owned
right.
it.
All right.
So,
So you were the middle child, 2 older sisters than you, and then 2 younger brothers?
Becky was born in 25.
Okay.
I was born in 27. My other sister was born in 28, and I said, boy, Dad didn't waste any time.
Right in a row. And then 2 younger brothers, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And did most of them live around here, or did they move away?
They moved away.
Okay, all right. So I know you spent some years as postmaster at the King City Post Office, and I think you said that started in 1977. Can you tell us some of the people that you worked with at the post office in King City?
There was Frank Albanese, Steve Nolte, Jess Jones, Judy, oh, I can't think of her last name.
Grindstaff?
No, they live out, hold on, where? Out there.
Yeah.
Judy Grindstaff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Lukey Frazier.
Yes.
And that's about what we had that I can remember.
Well, that's like the Hall of Fame of the King City Post Office that I remember.
Well, you know, when I came down, I already knew some of them, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I changed the policy that Bill Culver had, the former postmaster. And then after he left, I clamped down for some of the stuff that were going on, and some of the people jumped me about it. I said, I'll show you the postal manual if you want to have some complaints.
So you ran a tight ship then, huh?
Well, it wasn't run a township. I was running like the post office should be run.
So did you say you took over for Bill Culver?
I think it was Bill Culver.
Okay, he was a
Or
postmaster.
Pete Friesen, either one of them. I don't know which one.
Okay.
Which
so
one left.
I recognize that name too.
'Cause
Okay.
Pete Friesen used to live just a couple of doors down from here.
So, and the post office was where it is now at the corner of 3rd and Bassett? That facility's been around for a while, hasn't it?
It has. I talked to the inspectors about it, that I thought we should have a new location. That I don't know if they had the property or anything like that, but so we still stayed there. When I left there, we're getting too crowded.
Too crowded back then, huh?
Yeah.
So if you were there 10 years and you started in 77, you must have left around 87. Is that about right?
December the 26th of 86.
Oh, of 86. Okay, December. Okay. So,
I think it was.
did you have a good experience at the King City Post Office, or?
I already told him about it. No,
Oh,
it was
okay.
just-
Not all of them were,
no, I never had any problem with the public.
but okay,
There
good.
were a few of them that
Uh-huh.
always seemed like they were harassing you, but other than that,
Uh-huh.
but like I told him when I went to work there, I told the crew, I said, I'm your new boss. I said, seems strange that I'm your boss. I said, but I want everybody to toe the line. I want to take care of the customers. That's all I want. And my supervisor, Norm Davis, wasn't very happy because he put in for the job too.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh. And
there
they
was-
chose you,
There
huh?
was some hard feelings there for a while, but I told him, I says, you're here, you do the job. When you get out, do whatever you want, but in the job, you do the job. So we had our go around, but finally we came around and we go to have coffee together.
Oh, cool. So did you, In the years that you were here, when you came back and were working at the post office, do you remember some of the businesses that were in King City then? I mean, do you remember the grocery stores and? No, you moved
Well,
to.
I remember Carl's Market. That used to be there. The only one I think I can remember. How about Purity? Didn't they have Purity?
Mm-hmm.
And
Carl's Market was over on the 200 block
yeah,
of Broadway.
200 block Carl. Well, Lopez had that one. Lopes, as they call him.
Uh-huh. And then the King City Gardens was across the street from you there on Bassett, right? And you
I don't know if
to
it was
that?
there when did
Oh.
I remember it. Did I remember it?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But,
And the PG&E office was across the street, right?
I think it started there. I'm not sure. It's an old place, I'll tell you that.
So when you came to work here, then you came back or you moved to King. I'm trying to remember the date that you moved to this house. Was it when you got the job here, or was it okay? So same time as you came to work here, then you got this house.
Well, that's when the housing shortage we had here. Remember? Mm-hmm. And Joanne was working at Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And she was driving every day. So I told her, I says, well, get a place here. I'll drive to Greenfield. But she used to work with Janet Butchwright and
Oh, okay.
my uncle Saki and I can't think of the other one. He was there for a long time. And so what else was I going to say?
Well, tell me, do you remember the Real Joy Theater?
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah? What do you remember about it?
Pretty nice place, I thought. Of course, we only came in on Saturdays. We don't want that to bring us in on Saturdays to watch the movies. And I still remember that one. They used to have a series, Frank Hawks. And then the one time they had a show or the movie, and then after that they had a drawing for $25. I had a lot of money then, so my sister won it.
Oh, wow.
So I think Joanne worked some time there at the
Yeah, she did. That's what
Real
she
Joy.
told us
She
about
worked there
that.
at the Real Joy.
Yeah.
And
So speaking of Joanne, do you remember how you met her?
it's hard to say.
It was a long time ago. I think you just had didn't you just have your 70th wedding anniversary like last week?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That was 70 years ago. I forgot how long.
That's a long time ago.
I don't know.
How did you meet her? I'm wondering.
I thought maybe I met her when I was going to the movies.
Yeah, that's what I wondered, but
Because she was an usher.
she
or
was
usherette.
an usherette. That's what she told us.
But I can't think of anything else.
Huh. So do you remember getting married?
No, I was on champagne. No. Yeah, I remember getting married in Salinas.
Oh, okay. It was at somebody's house?
Yeah.
70 years. Not many people stay married for 70 years. Do you have any advice for people who
I have
want to?
none at all.
No advice.
All I can say is it's sheer luck. It's sheer luck.
It's pretty incredible to get to that big of a number. So.
I still remember the judge, Jeffries was his name.
Oh, okay. And then you went on to have some children. So I think Ray here was your first child, right?
Yep.
And then your second one was it Robert?
Robert.
Yeah.
Or we used to call him Boo.
Call him Boo. Okay. How did he get that kind of a nickname?
Had it from the time he was a little kid.
Then,
Some of the teachers didn't like us calling him Boo.
oh, okay.
But down here, we're playing golf and stuff like that. We'd say Bob Banuelos. They'd look at us and I said, Boo. Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
I guess he went to high school, wasn't it? They call him Boo at that time, right?
Yeah, all through his high school years. And then you had Leslie?
Leslie was the last one.
And speaking of golf, I think you told me that you spent a fair amount of time at the golf course.
Well, when I retired, that was the one reason. When you retired, but that said, when I retire, I'm going to play golf.
So before that, you did not play golf?
Oh, I took some lessons, but I had
Okay.
to come from Greenfield to take the lessons.
Okay.
So anyway, then when I did retire, then I got in touch, not in touch, but Steve Latas, all these guys, they've been playing for years, I guess, together. So I joined them, but they didn't play golf like I liked. It was dog eat dog with them, you know, and me, I was the poop pup, you know. It was hell. I couldn't keep up with them.
They were competitive, huh?
And then you form your teams. And like I was saying, you know, the first 9 holes was 50 cents. The second round was 50 cents. Overall was 50 cents, $1.50 it cost, you know, if you lost the whole thing. And those guys, some of them I know were millionaires, fought over that 50 cents. I never saw. Hell, I get up to putt. You better make this putt. You better make this putt. And that little China gun, the cook for Kiefer, you're nothing but a hamburger. You're a hamburger. But then he's the white guy that ended asking me to ride with him in his brand new Corvette.
Okay, so you wanted to have a little bit less competition and more fun in your golf game, is that right?
I wanted to have fun. That's why I took it up.
Okay.
And that's why I formed that but that team for Mondays.
Okay.
And we had about 8 or 10 of them. And when we got them, I told them, I said, you can play the game the way you want it. You don't have to keep score or anything. But this is fun. This is supposed to be fun. And some of those guys that had never played golf, well, come on down, you'll learn.
Good for you. So who were some of those guys that you played golf with for fun?
Oh, God, I can't remember now. There was Earl Cawley, there was Shackelford, there was Henry, and there was Marion Pope. What was
Yeah, you do have a pretty good memory. You can remember those guys' names. That's good for you. So those were the guys you played with, and it was kind of the Monday morning group? Did you drink coffee afterwards, or
Oh, no, we
play
didn't drink
cards or
coffee. We
something?
drank beer.
Oh, you drank beer. Okay. And then you play cards, or you just...
no.
You weren't a card player, huh?
No. Some guys still play cards right now, even now. But no, I never was into that.
So what did you like about golf?
The camaraderie.
Okay. Did you have any other hobbies or things that you did in town after you retired, or?
Yeah, those model planes that I used to make.
Model planes?
World War II. Hey, Ray, I want to take and show him the airplanes, but check the room out first, would you please?
Somebody told me that you have a whole room that's dedicated to your airplanes and your memorabilia. Is that true? Yeah? So you would spend time doing that. And then I also heard that you had a pretty nice garden at one time, that you were a pretty good gardener.
Yeah, I can say I was.
Yeah? Did you have a favorite plant or thing that you liked the most?
No, I just like flowers.
You like flowers?
I like all the plants, all of it.
Yeah, Joanne was the one that told me that your backyard looked like a park because you were such a good gardener.
Well, I don't know about a good gardener, but I like working out there.
That's great.
That was my forte.
So are there some other things that obviously you've lived in King City for 40-some years now, and you lived here as a child. Are there some things you like about King City, or that you remember when you think about King City?
Well, I don't have any bad thoughts about it. I enjoy belonging to the Rotary Club because I met it's a businessman club, really.
So you were a member of the Rotary Club?
The Rotary Club. And I joined the Chamber of Commerce, but I never did attend a meeting. But But those are the only two I enjoyed here.
So, what about the future?
Find that question to ask.
You're kind of at a, well, that's the reason we're here, is because sometimes when people are making changes, we want them to leave with us the things that they remember, and you have a lot of history here, and so I think you are about to make some changes. Is that right?
But we're keeping our fingers crossed right now.
Okay, all right.
We hope so.
Uh-huh.
I know I would hate to leave, but there's, well, I can't say anymore. But,
Well, there is a time where things change, and you have a lot of memories. We hope that you'll keep remembering things about King City, and share them with your family, and
well,
share them with us.
I'll miss most of the people that I used to associate with or play with or whatever it was, but
I think
I never was one of the kind of guys like to go out. I never was.
But I think you like to go to McDonald's.
No, I've never been to McDonald's.
Oh, which was the place where you said you had coffee with
Denny's.
Ollie? Oh, Denny's.
Yeah.
And was that with Mr. Pugh? With Mr. Pugh, Ollie Pugh? Is that who used to have?
Ollie, Henry, Pruitt.
Okay.
Who else? Oh, criminy boy, you lose your memory here. I'm trying to think of his name, but he lives here, and he was kind of a funny guy, but we got along. We didn't agree on a lot of things there. I kind of wish I could remember his name. But there was just about four of us all the time.
You would go to Denny's?
Yeah, we'd go to Denny's,
and
meet there in the mornings and have our coffee.
Uh-huh.
Before that, we used to go to Kiefer's when I was down there, when Kiefer had it.
On Broadway?
No.
Oh, on Canal.
On Canal.
Okay.
When the old man owned it, Jerry.
Jerry owned it, yes.
So I used to walk from here every morning to go down there.
Down to Kiefer's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Get your exercise?
Never thought about it. I just went down and had coffee with the guys.
That was after you retired?
Oh, yeah.
Or before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been having coffee together for a long time. And there used to be, when we started out, there were about 7 of us every morning. And when we kind of finished off was when, I can't remember the name of the restaurant that went out of business up there on River Drive.
Tabachi's?
No.
Golden West?
No, it was.
V's Diner?
Oh, V's?
Oh, that's the one.
Okay.
So
V's
then-
Diner?
We went over there,
Okay.
and by then we only had 5, I think.
Hmm.
And then, next thing you know, when Paul Anthony died, there was just Ollie and I. So then we came down here, and we used to enjoy coming down. The waitresses were great, I'll tell you. I can remember one day I was walking in there, and it was still kind of dark, and one of the waitresses saw me. And by the time I got to where we used to sit, there's my coffee and water.
Was that at Kiefer's or at Denny's?
Denny's.
At Denny's. So good waitresses at Denny's, huh?
They were good.
Oh, good.
And then the other guys from, would come in too. So it was really good fun at that time. Now, Ollie doesn't go anywhere, he says. Well, he's, 95, 96, I forget one. So he keeps telling me, Rudy, it's getting close. I said, don't think about it.
I used to tell my mom just turned 90, and I tell her, Mom, don't make any old friends, only make young friends. So
That's the only way to go.
So they stick around.
But a lot of the guys used to, Most of the ones that I golfed with were Vietnam veterans.
Okay.
And here I'm World War II. I got 20 years on most of them. Well, not 20 years, but right up there. So when you say you're 75, you know it's Vietnam. Or if you say 80, you say Korea.
Right.
And if you say World War II, they're gone gatos, that we used to say.
So thank you for serving in the military. We need people like you to
Yeah.
do
Well,
that
you know,
type of
when
thing.
I got out, I enlisted in the reserves.
Oh, okay.
And somebody told me they were going to open up a reserve unit, so I went up to see what was going on. And would you believe it? I ran into one of the guys that I went through boot camp. And there were probably 2 or 3 of us who were World War II. Our skipper was used to be the game warden down here. He was, I'm trying to think of his name right now, but anyway, we got to talking about all this stuff, and we're going to sign you up. I said, but I don't want to be a water tender. I don't want to be a water tender. They said, well, what do you want to be? I says, I'll take Telemann, which was the Navy rate. Well, in the meantime, the Navy gave that rate up. But I said, I want another stripe. They gave me 2 stripes. I wanted 3, but then they gave me 2. So I enlisted as a Telemann. A year later, I took the test, passed first class, 3 stripes. Then when I came up to chief, you can't be a Telemann. I said, why not? We don't have that rate. I said, here, all the time I've been there, and they never told me they didn't have it. So they said, you have the chance of being going home or being what the hell you call them? But anyway, the rate in finances and supply. That's what I went into. And then I got my chief, and I took over the administrative officer's job because he left, and none of the officers wanted. And I was the chief. The skipper came up to me, said, you want to be administrative officer? I said, nope, why not? I said, I'm an enlisted man. When you have your conferences, it's all officers. And I don't feel comfortable, you know. The skipper and I were like this. You don't worry about a thing. We straighten things out real quick because we, like I said, we used to, one guy, we used to call him Little Napoleon. And he was a corporal during Korea. But here he is a lieutenant commander. You know, and boy, he thought he was hot beans, you know, and all that. But boy, he was giving us a bad time in the office. He's always late for Sunday for us to get off. So this time, we had to send those fitness reports in. Keep it out. It didn't go in. The following month when he came in, he started chewing ass and all of this, pardon my expression, about why he didn't get his paperwork. And I said, sir, I said, you know that you were supposed to have that stuff ready. But you're holding us up. A lot of times we had to keep the crew overtime. So he went back up there, and I guess he straightened things out with him. Boy, after that, he stayed away from me, and I stayed away, because I could do what I wanted to with him.
So, Rudy, I have one last question for you, unless there's something else that you'd like to talk about. But I'm interested in your name, Banuelos.
It comes from Spain.
From Spain? Okay.
There is a town, I think, by the name of Spain.
Really?
The one you'd have to talk to is my nephew.
Really?
Brian and who else went? Well, Brian's the only one that I went over to Spain. But he said there was a Banuelos there.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
We used to pronounce it Banuelos.
Banuelos?
Banuelos.
Oh.
You have that little deal on top
yes.
of the end? That's yeah.
Okay, okay.
You say Banuelos? No, Banuelos. Yellows.
Okay. So it actually originated from Spain.
As far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I don't know anything about it.
And your mother and father, they came here from where?
But Dad was from the state of Jalisco. Mom was in Chihuahua. That's the only I know about
So
them.
they came, and then they came from Mexico, and then they ended up in Ventura, huh?
Well, they weren't married at the time.
Oh, okay. Did they meet then in Ventura?
I don't know how the
You
whole
don't know
thing
that
started
whole
out.
story.
All I know is I can see that picture of Mom and Dad in the wedding or whatever they had. Just,
Oh, really?
yeah.
But it was here in the States that
Oh,
they
yeah,
got
here.
married.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's been wonderful talking to you. Is there anything else any other stories or things that
No,
you'd
I
like
talked
to?
too much already.
No, you haven't, Knox. Ray, is there anything that we've missed or a story?
I think we covered his whole life right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, this is just one little segment, but you will probably, now that you've talked about a lot of these things, you'll probably remember other things. And so if you do, we encourage you to write those down or have your family help you
All
write
right, I'll
those
tell
down.
them about the sea bag, huh? I had my sea bag for 50 years, almost 50 years.
That's his old duffel bag.
And then
Oh, you still have your duffel
I
bag?
had it, and then I told Ray, or Boo Boo, I said, take whatever's in there. Tell him what you found, Ray.
Oh, I mean, from every kind of uniform to a pea coat that weighs like 15 pounds, and then the whites.
The whites.
The whites were kind of had like mold or something on it. So we wanted to clean them. And that's when he was telling us how they used to clean their whites on the ship. They would tie them on a rope.
Line, yeah, and throw them overboard.
Into the ocean?
Boy, if you wanted something white, after you brought it up, they were white. Same with those little caps that we wore. They got a deal in there, you tie it on and throw it over the side, and after a while, bring it back up.
And that's what the salt water did, huh?
It throw it up nice and white.
And that was in your bag that you kept in the
No,
garage?
it wasn't. Joanne made 2 uniforms out of those whites. Him and Boo Boo.
Oh.
His kids.
Oh. So she recycled them, huh?
Yeah, well, if they wanted them, hell, they can have them. Had a brand new peacoat that I never wore in there.
Oh.
I thought it was going to be full of moth, but it wasn't.
Wow. Survived, huh?
Yeah. Well, like they were talking about the stuff that they had on the white, they must have gotten some dampness or something like because they always were white.
Well, John, were there any other questions? Or I think we did a pretty good job of covering most of Rudy's life. So Rudy, keep thinking about your memories and talking about them. And if you have a chance to put them down, they can still be treasures for those of us who are here in King City. And obviously your experiences involved other places in the world, and other people would be interested too. So thank you very much for talking to
Don't
us.
thank me. Thank you.